title Secret Codes and Battleships is a couple of things for me. In some ways, it's just about all the things that we don't say, that we should say. For me, the most simple thing in my life is love and my friendships and my connections and my marriage. And Secret Codes and Battleships is about going to war for the things that actually matter. I always write from scratch. I've never been somebody who can sort of go into a room with anything more than some poetry. I usually have a bit of a journal. The one thing that was different about this album, though, is that I had the album title and I had the arc and the whole theme of the record before he had written one note. In many ways, singing is sort of my truth serum. I think the sound of the record is, you know, if I had to describe it simply, I'd say it's a modern pop record. The beauty of this record is that on the surface, I think it's quite easy to get into. And maybe that's been a quality in my records that I've avoided.
There's no use in imagining a world without you. Your love was like a drug I was addicted to.
Blackout the Sun is the song on the record that really defines the sound.
'Cause there's nobody else who can hurt like you hurt me. I don't wanna be lonely.
It has an incredible string arrangement by Matthias Byland, the son of the famous ABBA string composer. And the vocal of the song was actually recorded the day that Michael Jackson died. I thought, I'm going to use the emotion that I feel today and I'm going to use it in the performance, and it's all there.
Blackout the sun and all that we share will slowly disappear.
The standard of some of the musicians and the arrangers involved in the making of this record are very sophisticated. People like Larry Mahobarak, the string arranger, has such an incredible history. I mean, he started with Elvis Presley. He's arranged strings for Barbra Streisand, and all of a sudden, he was working on my record. And that level of expertise and finesse, it really brings everybody's game up. I would like to think that the record's very sophisticated from a musical sense, but in terms of listenability, I think the record's it's quite an easy record to get to know, and deceptively easy. I think it becomes more and more complicated as you live with it.
'Cause all I wanna do is just talk to you.
I found myself reconnecting with many things. I reconnected with the way that I used to write songs. My bass player, Lee Novak, appears on this album, and I haven't appeared on stage with Lee for almost a decade. He was the guy that was there from the very first Savage Garden shopping centre appearance. Another unusual thing about this album is just the vast array of contributors, from songwriters to producers. I didn't begin the record working with anyone I'd ever worked with before. I began working with Carl Falk, the Swedish producer, and I was completely out of my element for a long time there, even just emotionally. I was away from home. I'd only sung in the studio for probably 3 or 4 people in my entire career. In 15 years, I'd only ever sung in front of, I think, 3 people in the studio. And on this record, I think there's probably 8 or 9 people who recorded me. That was so out of my comfort zone. The one thing that really stitched all this together was Robert Orton. Robert Orton is the man who mixed the album. Bearing in mind he was just coming off the back of Lady Gaga's The Fame Monster, I would like to think that Robert gives the record a real sense of continuity.
I know you think we're better alone. Sometimes all the words are unsaid.
Overall, I think the album is quite heavy in parts, and Talk, Talk, Talk is a bit of a deceptive way in.
Just breathing out. 'Cause all I wanna do is just talk to you. Please hear me out. 'Cause all I wanna do is just talk.
Just like I always had the album title from the beginning, and just like I always knew what the music would sound like, I could see the album cover. I knew I wanted to be on the cover, but I wanted it to be a piece of art that was reminiscent of some of my favourite covers. One of them is Dangerous by Michael Jackson. I guess it begins from that kind of Sgt. Pepper's school of cutting and pasting. I wanted a cover that the viewer could get lost in. Bloodstained Heart is probably one of my favourite songs I've ever written. It is, for me, the real moment that this album becomes something very special. It's all in the song. I mean, I think it's quite universal. I would hope that this song becomes something that's a reassuring friend for anyone that's having a hard time. I wrote it about many things. There's a line in the song about the idea that if we're going to go down, we're going to go out fighting. And I love that, even though the character in the song realises that they probably lost the war, they're going to go out with their dignity in it, and I love that about Bloodstained Heart. I say things that a lot of people feel but don't quite know how to say them. And that's what I think my music does. And I say things in songs that other people feel too. And I think that's a very simple but really wonderful job to have.
I wanna block out the sun.